I opened my marriage, lost my husband, and now I'm fighting to win him back. Is it too late? I'm here to seek guidance on how to save my remaining marriage. Let me begin by stating that I have been with my spouse for 7 years, and we have been married for 5 of those years. I'll call us Skylar and James for privacy's sake. In our second year of community college, we got to know one another. James went on to receive a 4-year degree in business administration from a university that provides remote programs at the community college, while I obtained a 2-year degree in office management. In the present, James is 27 and I am 26, and we intended to have a child later this year. Having 4 children, ideally 2 boys and 2 girls, was our desire. Both of our families loved us, and we had a really happy marriage. This is where I made a big error. I formed a relationship with a delivery driver for one of the 3 major delivery companies, which some could refer to as a work-husband relationship. To keep things private, I'll call him Jaden. Jaden has been delivering to my office for about 2 years at the age of 25 and unmarried. Unquestionably, we clicked right away. It wasn't romantic, but there was a spark that pulled me to him. Every time he made a delivery, we would converse for at least 10 minutes. I started to look forward to seeing him and always made sure to be honest with him when he showed up. Our chat went farther than normal one day. Jaden said he wanted to ask me a personal question. He said he didn't want to offend me or endanger our business relationship because it was so personal. I encouraged him to ask and reassured him that was okay. I feel a very strong attraction to you and wondered if you felt it too, he admitted at that point. His audacity shocked and embarrassed me. After giving it some thought, I confessed that I felt it as well. Jaden continued by saying that if I weren't married, he would have asked me out. The conversation ended when I thanked him for the compliment. That was the last of him. Our conversations grew awkward and short throughout the course of the following week. I was so ashamed that I thought I had gone too far. Even as James and I continued to enjoy our married lives at home, the guilt persisted. To be clear, I have always been totally happy with James as a husband, friend, and lover. I thought he would have said the same of me at the time. For me, he was ideal. Nevertheless, I mistakenly started to dream about having both my devoted husband and a relationship with Jaden that went beyond business chats. Later, I discovered that this is frequently called eating cake. Intrigued, I began reading up on open marriages and polyamory. I initially thought the concept was nasty and ridiculous. I was certain James would not consent, and even if he did, I wanted to prevent our marriage from being harmed and our family from becoming estranged. Weeks went by, and my married life was still great. But there were still thoughts of Jaden. I came upon a blog article by a lady in an open marriage with the heading "It Doesn't Hurt to Ask." When I went back to the subject, she talked about how she sought a relationship with a man she met while volunteering, even though she loved her spouse. After 2 years of suppressing her emotions, she finally asked her husband on a lengthy drive. He was interested, which surprised her. 4 years later, they apparently had a stronger, happier connection after opening their marriage and finding other lovers. Because it mirrored exactly what I wanted but was too scared to question James about, her tale struck a chord with me. Then, one Sunday morning, I made the decision to bring up the topic as we were relaxing at home, conversing and using our phones to browse the internet. I just read this online post about open marriages, I said immediately to James. How do you feel about them? Are you talking about couples sleeping with other people? He questioned, glancing at me. I reaffirmed and inquired about his thoughts once again. In response, James said he found it repulsive and added that if someone wanted to sleep together, they should simply seek a divorce. I said, it's really becoming popular here in the US and other Western countries, in an attempt to diffuse the situation, but his expression made it obvious that he was disgusted by the subject, so I quickly changed the topic. His response made me decide that I would never bring it up again since I didn't want to endanger our marriage, which I thought was fantastic. A few weeks later, James and I were snuggling in bed together, enjoying the glow from a fantastic evening. He remarked abruptly, "Who did you have in mind when you brought up open marriages last week?" As I lay on his chest, unable to see his face, I went cold. I gently lifted my head to look at him, and a pit developed in my stomach. "What are you discussing? What are you saying?" I stumbled. James clarified that he has read studies indicating that a woman's reference to an open relationship with her boyfriend frequently indicates that she has previously cheated or has another lover in mind. I was shocked by what he said. In fact, I was shaken to my very core. James remarked, "I know you too well," after realizing the effect of his comments. "Just be honest, I can tell you're hiding something." I could have stopped there, but instead I remained silent, turned my head away, and finally told him, "I have never cheated on you and would never do so. Rather, I acknowledged that there was someone at work I may think about if we ever discussed an open marriage." Tell me about this work friend, James insisted. I reluctantly started to describe Jaden and our encounters, including the moment he revealed his emotions for me. I didn't reveal, though, that I felt the same way about it. I was frightened by James's next statement. You know, technically, you've already cheated on me. I retaliated defensively, saying, I haven't cheated? Your relationship with this Jaden guy is what's known as an emotional affair, James retorted. James gave me an explanation of the term because I had never heard it before. I listened in frustration as he explained the workings of emotional affairs. James finally proposed that we end the conversation since he needed to go to bed because he had an early start the next day. I couldn't fall asleep, but he did. Rather, I picked up my phone and began looking up emotional affairs. What James had asserted was supported by article after article. My relationship with Jaden was more than simply an emotional one. It was a full-fledged one. I was overcome with guilt. I felt like I had let my hubby down. I went downstairs to make myself some tea because I couldn't sleep, and at around 4 in the morning, I fell asleep on the couch. James kissed me awake at 6:45 a.m. I'm heading out for work, he declared. As usual, I kissed him back and told him I loved him, but this time, with guilt weighing heavily on my mind, I made it clearer than ever. You should start your day. It's almost 7 a.m. After making love for a few days, we were laying in bed once more when James abruptly remarked, if you truly want to, I'd be willing to try an open marriage. Why are you bringing this up now? I questioned, stunned. He clarified that he had been considering our earlier chats and reasoned that if it was something we wanted, we should attempt it while we were still young. I pledged never to endanger our marriage or our love, but I did show cautious attention. I told him, you are the most significant person in my life. If our love bond is strong, it will withstand infidelity, James retorted. James didn't respond when I retorted, a mutual open relationship wouldn't be considered infidelity because we'd both agree to it. Consider our marriage open, starting right now, he remarked instead. Surprised again, I told him to calm down and that we needed to set ground rules. He made the following specifics. We had to let people know ahead of time who we would be sleeping with and when. We had to later, without going into graphic detail, tell each other about the incident. There are no exceptions to the rule that all types of closeness must be protected. I accepted his conditions and suggested a few more. We would maintain the privacy of our open marriage. We would pledge to stay together and prevent these adulterous affairs from ruining our marriage. James declared that he was unable to accept either of these terms. He refused to talk about it more and just said he didn't and wouldn't agree to them when I questioned why. I was worried since this felt totally out of character for James. I snuggled up to him in spite of my discomfort, and we dozed off. I became uncomfortable with the idea of an open relationship throughout the course of the following month because I thought James might be up to something. I chose not to pursue it and concentrated on leading a typical life. I avoided talking to Jaden at work during this time, limiting our exchanges to trivial subjects like the weather or our respective workloads. Then, one day, Jaden asked me if something was wrong and said he truly missed our discussions. I explained to him that I didn't have much time to talk because I was so busy at work and at home. I contemplated whether or not to disclose my open marriage to him. I eventually made the decision to tell him how I wish I could take that choice back. I asked Jaden to join me for a drink after work because it didn't seem acceptable to have such a chat there. He concurred. We got together at a neighborhood tavern with a terrace outside, which was ideal for the warm early spring weather. I asked him directly whether he would be interested in a relationship after telling him about my newly announced marriage. Without hesitation, he said yes. Although he respected my boundaries, Jaden acknowledged that he had been waiting for me to change his mind and that he had been dreaming about me for months. We talked flirtatiously most of the time that night. We decided to have our first romantic meeting at his flat the next day. I made it clear that I had to depart by 6:30 p.m. to go back home to James, who was still my top priority. I came home that evening and made James a delicious meal. After supper, I told him about my conversation and meeting with Jaden earlier in the day, and that we had planned to meet at his apartment the next day, assuming James was still okay with us being married in an open marriage. Despite appearing surprised, James answered, "Oh, yes, all right, so you're meeting him tomorrow?" As my top focus was him and our relationship, I reassured him that we could still cancel if he so desired. "No," he insisted. "Let's do this." In contrast to our typical embraces, I felt hardness and remoteness in his. I blamed it on nerves. We didn't speak much that night as I concentrated on my own work and James worked in his office. I tried to start an intimate conversation with him before we went to bed, but he stated he was too exhausted and wanted to relax. When I woke up the following morning, James had already left, leaving a text message saying that he had neglected to mention an early meeting. He also mentioned that he would see me that evening. This was not like him, but I brushed it off and went about my day as usual, dressing and going to work. I picked a really lovely clothing that day because I knew I was going out with Jaden after work. I texted James throughout the day, but he didn't reply. I contemplated calling off our date with Jaden, but I now regret not doing so. I got a text from James at 4:17 p.m. He promised to meet me that evening and wrote that he loved me. I was relieved by this, and I saw it as his approval to proceed. I'll get right to the point. When Jaden and I first met, our private moment was fierce. There was clearly no love involved, and it wasn't quite as satisfying as it is with James. But because of the unlawful nature of what we were doing and the pure passion, it was physically satisfying. After an hour and a half, I left Jaden's residence and got home shortly after 6:40 p.m. I was shocked to see that James wasn't home yet. I was relieved since it allowed me to take a shower and wash my clothes to get rid of the smell of Jaden's perfume. Despite my physical sense of fulfillment, I was overcome with regret, guilt, and shame. I felt soiled, as though I had violated every fundamental principle in my marriage. I was really anxious, and it was a mental tug-of-war. I made a short but beautiful meal and put candles to create a romantic atmosphere since I was determined to make it up to James. I wanted him to understand how much I loved him and that the sexual relationship with Jaden was meaningless because it was only physical and couldn't compare to the happiness and love I had with James. My hope was that we would make love at the end of the evening. James was still away from home around 7:30 p.m. When I tried to call him, the call went straight to voicemail. I texted him to let him know that dinner was ready when I got home. When I didn't hear back by 8:50 p.m., I became concerned. I kept phoning and texting him, leaving messages, but I never heard back. At last, at approximately 9:30 p.m., James texted me, saying, "Don't wait up. I will arrive home late." He didn't respond when I texted him back to inquire where he was and who he was with. I finally dozed off after midnight, emotionally and physically spent. The sound of the shower running in the guest bathroom awakened me up. When I went up to look, I saw that the door was locked, which was completely out of character for James. He did not answer when I knocked. After 10 minutes, James came out, wrapped in a towel, and said nonchalantly, "Hey, how was your night?" After I assured him that everything was okay, he asked me straight out, "Did you have sex with Jaden?" I winced at his directness and urged him to use a different wording. I reluctantly said, "Yes, Jaden and I were together." I then inquired about his whereabouts. James confessed that he had gone out dancing and spent the night at multiple pubs. Because I could smell perfume on his clothing, I was suspicious and questioned who he was with. Upon pressing, I inquired, "Who is she?" He said that he didn't have to identify her because they hadn't shared a bed. Although I was astonished by what he said, I was more offended by his tone and language. James's angry remarks caused me great concern, although he never used profanity when addressing me. I then questioned him about why he had taken a shower in the guest bathroom. He told me icily that until I had completed 2 STD tests, he would be utilizing the guest bathroom and bedroom. I was devastated by his statements. "This wasn't part of our rules," I objected. I ensured that Jaden wore protection during all of our activities. "Have you never heard of oral HPV or herpes?" James shot back. "Till you're cleared, I won't come within 6 feet of you." Think of this as my personal take on social distancing. I informed James that I wanted to end our marriage right now since I was so distraught and crying. I cried, "This is the last thing I wanted to happen." "No way," James shot back. "I'll have my turn now that you've taken yours." James only stated that he was going to bed since he had an early meeting and needed rest, even though I started crying more. I sobbed on the couch for the majority of the night before dozing off. When I opened my eyes, James was gone. I tried contacting him during the day, but he didn't pick up. He texted me, saying, "Don't wait up for me." I left voicemails and texted, but nobody answered. I felt like I was going crazy because I knew I had probably ruined my marriage. I didn't see Jaden at work that day as there were no deliveries. But I gave him a call at 4:30 p.m. and inquired about our possibility of meeting that night. He acknowledged that I sounded agitated. I told him I wanted to break up with him when we first met, acknowledging that it was a big mistake. I admitted that I just wanted my husband because I loved him. He understood, and all he wanted for was one more connection. Other than that, he would only ever speak to me at work. I consented, and our brief and unremarkable hookup lasted less than 10 minutes and consisted just of a basic posture. Jaden later said to me, "That was awful." I apologized, acknowledging that the entire affair was a tremendous error and not his fault. "You just laid there like a tree trunk." After getting ready and giving him one last hug, I turned to depart. I asked Jaden, bewildered, what he meant when he said, "I'll never understand women like you," before I left, but he just muttered, "Nothing, no comment," with a look of utter hatred on his face. I hurried off, sobbing all the way home. How was I able to be so foolish? I had ruined my marriage for nothing at all. I felt filthy once more and thought I was the world's most foolish person. It was 1 a.m. when James finally returned home. That evening, I was tired of knowing that I was the only one responsible for ruining my life. James did the same thing on Friday, leaving before I woke up and texting me, "Don't wait up for me?" The coldness and distance between us broke my heart. I missed our mornings, evenings, and weekends together, cooking together, going on walks after supper, and chatting about random topics. I sorely missed it when it was all gone. I sent James a text message requesting to speak with him the following morning. "All right," he said, "as long as it's first thing." I asked him where he was going, but he didn't respond. "I'm leaving for the day." It was 1:30 a.m. when he returned home. I just lay in bed and sobbed without saying anything. Without saying anything, James immediately went to bed after taking another shower in the guest bathroom. The following morning, I got up early to await his arrival. He entered the kitchen, poured himself some orange juice, and sat at the table, looking at his phone, at 7 in the morning. The atmosphere was lifeless and icy. I approached him, sat on his knee, and whispered, "Look at me." He looked away, but I gently took hold of his face and met his brown eyes. I said, "You have my undying love. I really apologize for the poor choice I made, not a mistake, but a decision. I will stop at nothing to win back your love and trust." James remained silent while staring at me as if I were crazy. I pleaded, "Are you still in love with me?" He said, "I'm not sure." I sobbed and begged, "I can put this right." He said, "I don't think you can." I said in a fit of rage, "You orchestrated everything. Didn't you set me up for divorce?" James denied it but acknowledged that, based on what he had read, he realized our relationship was probably finished the moment I raised the subject of an open marriage. I questioned him, "Why didn't you just tell me to stop talking to Jaden?" I was devastated by his response. "You can't make someone be faithful. You are either monogamous or not, and it is clear that you are not." He just got up and stated he was going, despite my entreaties not to ruin our marriage. He said he would return after midnight when I questioned where he was going. "Tomorrow is Easter Sunday," I told him. "Our scheduled departure time is 7 a.m. Go visit the home of my parents. We spend every holiday with them because they adore you." James replied icily, "I'm not going." "What am I supposed to tell my parents?" I begged him to come, shocked. "Tell them the truth," he added with a shrug. He packed a gym bag and left the house without saying anything more, despite my repeated pleas for him to stay. I feel totally deflated and ruined inside. I would appreciate any guidance or recommendations regarding actions I can take to keep my marriage intact. I'm particularly interested in hearing from those who have had similar situations with open marriages and whether or not a couple can move over such a betrayal. After an open relationship, have you been able to successfully reconcile? I appreciate you hearing my tale. I'm going to bed now so I can spend the rest of the day crying. First update. I would want to express my gratitude to everyone who replied with comments and encouragement. I was able to get through the past several days because to it. Many individuals properly chastised me and called me derogatory things, but I deserve it and I also value your opinions. 2 of the worst days of my life have been Easter Sunday and today. When I pulled up to my parents' house, they asked me right away, "Where's James?" I lied to them and said he couldn't make it because of an emergency at work. I didn't want the family get-together to be disturbed. At first, my family believed my tale, but as the day wore on, they began to suspect that I wasn't phoning or texting my husband as I usually do. I sent multiple phony texts and claimed to have responses from James, assuring everyone he was still busy at work and would give me a call tomorrow in order to allay their suspicions. To be honest, he never texted or called, not even to see whether I had made it safely. I was devastated by this. On Monday, I had intended to spend the night at my parents' house and discuss our marital issues with them. I was afraid they would be angry and despise me if I did this. I told them this morning, and everything went exactly as I had expected. They shouted at me, called me horrible names, and said that I wasn't brought up this way. When my sister was summoned over, she started to lash out at me as well. I told them I realized what I had done was horrible and sobbed. I promised them that I had grown from the experience and would never do the same thing again. I informed them that regaining James' love and trust would be my only priority going forward. Ultimately, they told me they loved me and would pray for our marriage to be saved, even if they were furious with me. On Monday night, I took a car home. I texted and called James during the day, but he didn't respond. He had gone to Florida to see his parents and would be back on Sunday, according to a note on the counter when I got home. We had arranged to go there together in early May, so I felt terrible. Now that strategy is shattered because of me. I despise myself. For now, that's all I have to say. I'm simply so unhappy and dejected. The fact that I'm no longer crying frightens me. Tears no longer seem worth shedding because of the depth of my hurt and regret. Second update. I didn't intend to publish again for almost a year, but I decided to offer an update because the community showed such a great deal of interest. I have some good news as well as some negative news. The first piece of terrible news is that I'm divorced. Back in December, it was decided. James ultimately came to the conclusion that he couldn't stay married to me once I started seeing another man. He claimed that he was ashamed to be seen with me in public and that he would never be able to trust me again. He claimed that he regained his masculinity after the divorce. I disagree. He never lost his manhood, and only our families are aware of my brief relationship with Jaden. Well, anything. The good news, no, the amazing news, is that last month James and I resumed our dating life. It's been great since Valentine's Day, when we reconnected. Our passion level is unmatched, much higher than when we initially started dating 7 years ago, but we only see each other when he wants to, which has been around once a week. James has stated unequivocally that this is merely a physical matter and that we will never again be a couple, get married, or live together. I'll take what I can get, but I'm not really comfortable with this. I want to get James back. I would like to have his children if I am unable to achieve that. I wouldn't baby trap him, so don't get me wrong. All I want is to have kids with him. Without getting married, I've considered how we could divide custody and still work things out. I don't want children with anybody else, even though I know it seems weird, but I love him. I understand that doing this would probably put any future relationships I might have with other men in jeopardy, but I only want James. That's all I have to say for now, and until something significant occurs, I doubt I'll post again. However, I would adore hearing your thoughts about my predicament. Do you believe that my decision to date James is insane? Is it better for me to go on and find someone else to start a family with? P.S. Jaden has never been an option. I simply made a poor choice with him, and I will never do it again. Thank you. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.